Hey, this is Oteil. If you're liking what you're hearing, head on over to patreon.com/comes a time pod and get your bus pass for an extra episode every week.
Welcome back to Comes a Time. That's Oteil.
And that's Mike.
And today on the podcast, we have musician, author, Grateful Dead historian, David Gans.
Yeah, it was a good visit with him. He got fired up right there at the beginning, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. He totally does.
I love it.
Yeah, he's cool. You know, I'm a big well, first of all, I first got to know him from 105.9 Hartford Radio, WHCN. When I was a kid, they would do the Dead Zone, which would be like a block of Grateful Dead studio stuff, and then the Grateful Dead hour would follow. And I would listen to it religiously. Like every Sunday night, I would listen to David Gans. And then when I got my car with Sirius in it in 2005, or whatever the hell it was, and, you know, the Grateful Dead channel and all that, but they started doing Tales from the Golden Road a little bit down the way. And it's just, I love call-in radio shows. I absolutely love call-in radio shows because I love to hear the people who call in. Like, what inspires someone to call into a radio show, you know? And for Deadheads to call in, sometimes it's like the most spun out, like, they're like, turn your radio down. And they're like, what about my radio, brother? Like, it's like, turn your radio down. So it's just fun to listen to the way he handles callers. But boy, I mean,
dude, live radio, it takes
it's a handful, man.
Nerves of steel. Yeah, you just gotta be able to roll with it. It's pretty funny. When I was on their show, we had this caller that she went into the weeds and quick with no hope of coming back out. It was great.
They'll be like, Nick from Utica, you're on the phone, and then Nick's like, I have 7 questions. My first question, and they just go, all right, like, you know, but they handle it with grace. And but David's been a part of this scene forever, man, and it's I you know, he's an incredible, you know, we talk about how he handled like not playing and playing during this pandemic. Once again, another very unique way of handling the lockdown, which I thought was really neat, you know?
Yeah, we've all gotten, well, a lot of us have gotten some good lemonade out of all these lemons.
Absolutely. We hope you guys enjoy it and support David and check him out live when he streams. And we're here on Osiris, home to so many amazing podcasts. Check them all out at osirispod.com, including Alive Again, this incredible Trey series. And if you are interested to hear some more from us, head on over to Patreon for some bonus episodes and some incredible content. Patreon.com/comesatimepod. Enjoy David, and we'll see you out there on tour, kids.
Oteil, you have the coolest background, man.
I went on the dreaded Amazon. It's hard to boycott them.
I know.
I do the best I can, but I was just looking for tapestries because I wanted a backdrop, and my wife got a bunch, and I was like, let me just put in, you know, Egyptian tapestries, and all these things came out. I was like, oh yeah, I want that one. So you just got to get the right size.
I'm not sitting in front of it right now because I'm downstairs, but in my studio upstairs where I do my daily live streams, I have a tapestry that's a batik of my Rick Turner guitar.
Oh, wow.
A woman in Kentucky whose name suddenly escapes me made this for me. She took a picture of my guitar, made a tracing of my guitar, and then the next time I came through to play that festival, she gave me this beautiful batik that she'd made of my guitar. So when I needed something to hang behind me for my daily thing, like in front of my CD rack, right? Pin that thing up. It's just beautiful. It's like sunrise over my guitar. It's really nice.
I need someone to make me a big backdrop of this.
The Colonel.
Yeah.
Just a huge the Colonel's face really big. Putting it out there in the universe.
I had a dream about him the other day, and it wasn't like a dream where he was involved in it, but I was in, I feel like Chicago, and there was like the outside of a bar, and it had all the upcoming artists, and there was a poster, a Colonel Bruce poster, and it was like just his face like looking surprised, and it said like these dates. I don't remember the dates, but I totally remember him being like in that dream. And after getting to talk to you and knowing him like from stuff before, that's a guy I really wish I had the chance to meet
Yeah,
at least
I
once.
spent some time with him at Spirit of the Sewanee Music Park at various festivals that we played, and he gave me this great piece of advice when I started working on reinventing my metabolism so I could take some weight off and stuff. He said, never eat when you're bored. And I thought that was just really great advice.
That's fantastic advice.
And I quoted him to some other people. I think I was talking to Reverend Jeff Mosier sometime after he passed, and I quoted him quoted that, and he said, "Yeah, that was great advice that he never followed for himself."
Yeah, that's true, man. I'm glad you got to hang with him.
But it was really great advice. It's like eating is like when you go someplace and you have to wait, they say, "Here, have something to eat," or "Hi, welcome. Can I give you something?" It's like everywhere you go, people are trying to shove food at you. Walking out of a restaurant, there's candy in a dish and stuff. And I just had to learn to stop accepting everything that was thrown at you, right? And it turned out to be a major and important lifestyle change for me. And he was just really, really, it was just a really cool piece of advice, just summed it up into one short sentence like that. And it really served me well.
I found the same thing with cigarettes when I was trying to quit. When I started singing, I took over singing lead in my solo band. And it was just like, I realized, I'm like, okay, when are you smoking the most? And most of it was killing time. We didn't have a tour bus, so you had to pull over and get gas. Everybody would jump out and smoke a cigarette. And so I started asking the other guys in the band, I'd say, do you think most of your cigarette smoking time is to kill time? And they all thought about it. They were like, yeah, it is. And I thought, wow, we're killing ourselves because we haven't found a better way to kill time. I thought, okay, we got to be smarter than this.
That's what the Buddhists are talking about when they talk about mindfulness. And I went all those years, I was struggling with my weight, and they talked about all this mindfulness and stuff like that. And it turns out to be true. If you can train yourself to just think about stuff and pay attention to what you're doing. I realize how many times I'm sitting there trying to get something written, and I'd get up and walk into the kitchen and grab a handful of trail mix or something and go back and sit down and write some more. It's like, well, it's like poisoning yourself as a way of trying to loosen your creative juices. It's not a smart move, right?
It's so true.
That's a cultural thing with us. When I would go to New York, and you get the sandwich that's like this much meat. And I'd say, can I get 4 more pieces of bread? Because I can make 2 more sandwiches out of this. And I asked my buddy, Shelly, that was our tour accountant. I was like, what's up with this, And he's like, well, think of all the people that came from the old countries. And they their relatives would give them, look how much meat we can have on a sandwich. And it just so I started to do that same thing, or I was just like, I'm already full. This is an American portion of food,
right?
But 3 people could eat this.
Yeah, when you start noticing that, I notice it in airports. I'll order a chef's salad and it's like immense plate. This is 3 pieces for me now. There was a time in my life when I would have ate the whole thing, and then had a donut or something. But now it's like, wow, this is more than enough. Like my wife and I, my company buys dinner for my wife and me once a week. It just sort of compensate her for putting up with my daily live streams and all. And we order a meal out from one of our favorite local restaurants, and we wind up getting 2.5 meals out of it.
Yeah, right? Absolutely.
It's incredible how much we eat in this country. And once I started paying attention to it and trying to get myself healthy, I realized it was just seriously so much of it is just habitual.
Absolutely. It's a cultural thing. And how much we throw away.
That
I
too.
mean, that part,
Mm.
Yeah.
I'm a leftover king. That Chinese meal, 3 days.
Yep.
Lunch the
Yeah.
next day, dinner the day after that. Like, I finish that food. It's for me, it makes me crazy to throw away food
Yeah.
when people are
One of the
starving.
when I go on tour with the Impractical Jokers, one of the guys, Joe, he lost a bunch of weight, and what he would do is the minute that he ordered food, he would say, "Pack half of that for me. Like, don't even bring it to the table. Just please pack half and bring it when we're done." So he automatically would cut his portion in half and bring it, and inevitably probably give it away, like while he was like walking down the street or whatever city we were in, because that food sits on a tour bus and gets old and whatever. But yeah, it really is incredible, the portions. I've noticed that microdosing has helped me quite a bit with not like getting up and going and eating the trail mix or whatever. Like I'll get up and I'll pour myself a glass of water or like like take a walk outside. It gets me, instead of going for cigarettes too,
How
Habit.
often do you do that?
as often as possible. I spent most of May doing it. I took a couple days off. Huh?
Every day?
Like 5 days on, 2 days off, or 4 days
David,
on,
this
three
is
days
like
off.
really minuscule amounts that you don't feel.
I mean, sub-perceptual,
Do it too,
like not at
Teal?
all.
You do it too, Teal?
I'm not right at the moment, but I have. There was a 30-day thing, and
Interesting.
it was awesome.
I haven't
Yeah,
tried
it
it.
helped.
Daily but moderate cannabis user, and I crave psychedelic experiences, but it's just hard to make the time to do it properly.
Well,
You don't
the thing
have
that's
those
been,
with this, yeah.
This isn't
yeah, the
that.
thing
I
that's
know.
been, it's literally like it's a vitamin in the morning, and it's a blend of various different non-psychedelic mushroom compounds, and then maybe a teeny little pinch of magic in there, and it just kind of cuts the tail off anxiety
Wow.
and gives things, like, I feel a little less tacky, where things don't stick to me as much. If I get hunger or a twinge of anxiety or criticism, it goes and just goes away like every other thought. You know what I mean? So everything gets its due attention and no more.
And how much
But the
mushroom
beautiful,
do you eat? How
what's
much
that?
how much mushroom do you eat to do this microdose?
I mean, extremely, extremely tiny, like less than a tenth of a gram. So yeah, but it's helped a lot with the OCD, the compulsion stuff, the obsession stuff. Waking up and going like, I
Bad
have to
habit.
get X, Y, and Z done. I have to get if I don't do this, I'm gonna fail the day, kind of thing. Like that has gone.
That's interesting because I wake up every morning with some little anxiety agenda like that. And then I get up and go about my day, and that stuff doesn't bug me all day. It's just enough to sort of goose me up in the morning, but it's not like I
Nice.
obsess on that shit all day. So what's up with that? Why would your brain send you such an annoying signal
Yeah.
at such an inconvenient time when it's not as urgent obviously when you get up and get about your day, it's not as urgent as it was when it kicked you out of bed in the morning. What's up with that?
It's funny.
It's so true. I don't know. And it at the worst times, and especially during the pandemic, my wife being in healthcare and all of that, like that, before my eyes would even open, it was, you're in a pandemic, your wife's on the front line, she's probably going to get it, probably going to bring it home, there's nothing you can do about it, you should probably try to go get some more Lysol today.
Whoa.
Like all bang
Anxiety.
boom boom, like just, and it's just a funnel of like a trap, really, a mental trap. And then, but what's been nice with this experience has been, it's just kind of, those things have the same half life that the good thoughts do. So it's not like I'm walking around, handing out sunflowers to people, and, but if I get annoyed, it goes away like it should.
Did your wife get it?
Does she understand
No,
it? Oh, COVID?
at the COVID. Oh, good. You got
She
news.
didn't get COVID, and she was in the front line, and
Yeah, she was.
She was literally, every day putting on the full beekeeper kind of, gear. And, but she says some of the, we're having a couple conversations with friends who are anti-vaccine right now, and we don't understand. Like, it's like questions until they hear what they want to hear. You know what I mean? Like, she's off the clock. She's worked 60 hours. We're relaxing, having a good time. And then they hit her with, well, I heard that, if I don't have comorbidities, then, and she's so, God bless her, she keeps her patience until she finally goes like, if I had a camera, if I was able to like record what I saw and I could show you people hunched over on their stomachs so their lungs don't fill with fluid, way younger than all of us, then maybe you'd change your mind. But you go ahead and do what you want with the, So she's handled it well. But a lot of nurses she was with, I mean, that's the long-term effect of this that we haven't even seen yet, is what some of these nurses and doctors and, what they had to witness.
Yeah, I've been reading some of the articles about the long COVID. I'm glad you guys dodged that bullet, man. That must have been an intense period.
I didn't. I got it. My whole family got it. So.
You got it, yeah.
Both kids, everybody.
You okay?
Yeah, everybody. It's actually, when I got the shot, was probably 50 to 75% harder, like more painful than when I actually had COVID. But we got it last March, like right at Madison Square Garden. We were in New York the day they declared it the epicenter. We did the gig that night and left, and a bunch of people got it then. But so I got it right at the beginning.
Wow.
Jess showed up first, me about a day later, then Nigel a day later, then Kavi a day later. And
everybody's okay.
Yeah, I mean, it was for me, it was milder than a lot of flus that I've had. A lot milder.
I'm glad to
hear. It was just one night of really, just achy and feeling cold and hot and the whole just thing, and then it was over. But the cough stuck around for a long time. But yeah, we definitely didn't dodge it. It was crazy.
I see. That's what blows me away. Like, it's just so wild how some people right in the thick of it didn't get it, and other people who like stayed home forever and went out maybe to get the mail once.
Yeah.
God, it's just such a strange thing. And I guess that's also the power of saying I don't know. All these know-it-alls kind of like tend to, well, I don't need to wear a mask, I'm going to be fine, blah, 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 and then they get it. But it's the folks who
we haven't
admittedly
heard
have no.
Nugent since he went down with it.
Did he get it?
Right.
Got it after all that laughing he did about it, how bullshit. He got it, and we have not heard from him. Not a moment of contrition from that character. So
I know I'm not supposed to feel good when the boneheads get it, but I always do. I'm like, yeah, like
what's wrong? You just want the karma to get settled, don't you?
I just, it's like, I didn't do it. Can I just enjoy watching it happen?
One of the hardest one of the hardest moments of the whole thing was when we were here. I'm right outside New York, and that's like where it was super hard, and we really weren't allowed to do anything. They said stay in the house and whatever. And when she'd get home from work, she was exhausted, and she had one day off, and she goes, let's just go for a drive. So we went for a drive down by the Sound, like Long Island Sound, and there's beaches and stuff, and it was like the first warm days last May, I'd say. Still, everyone's supposed to be at home. Everyone's 100% supposed to be wearing masks and all that. And we drive by the beach, and the beach is absolutely packed with people not wearing masks and just like no social distancing at all. And there's like a police car sitting like right there observing the whole thing or whatever. And she just goes, well, all these people are going to be in the they're all going to be in the hospital in the next couple weeks. And it just defeated her so much, and it pissed me off for her. It was like, man, just think about other people for once, for Christ's sake, like that part really bothered me a lot.
That's the modern American culture, man. The right wing has weaponized selfishness. That's really what it's all about. This is all about, don't you dare make me accommodate anybody else. And It drives me nuts, man. I've lost a couple of friends in the middle of all this. I gave up a regular gig at a dispensary in Nevada when I found out that the owner's a fucking Trump skull. How a guy could vote for a man who would throw him in jail for doing his business just blew my mind. And I couldn't shake him from this. And he thinks Nancy Pelosi is a greater danger to society than Donald Trump. I thought, I don't want to know you, man. I cannot do business with a person who thinks that way. It's just not rational.
Yeah, but it's a lot of this country,
I know. I
It's
lost
amazing.
another promoter, festival promoter that I used to work with a lot in Ohio. Also, same thing. It's like, look at Joe Biden. He can't even finish a sentence. Fuck you. That came from Fox News, man. You watch Joe Biden talk, and then you tell me you think he's impaired. It's just the utter unreality of the world those people live in scares the shit out of me.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
very true.
I think that's not just on the right side though, man. We're in a lot of unreality on
No,
both
that's
sides.
what I mean.
Yeah.
Out here in California, Marin County, a super high-end economic stratum, right? There's a lot of like anti-vax in that world. It's like hippies. You're supposed to be healthy and
Yeah.
oriented. It's like, don't
I
be
know
anti-science.
I know a lot of
Got us here, for
hippies.
God's sake.
Yeah.
It's so
It's
crazy.
a slippery slope though with the anti-science thing though, because like I've been talking about this a lot. Like the CDC said you don't have to wear masks anymore if you've been vaccinated. So I'm following the science if I don't wear a mask. I'm
But there's a
following the
social.
science.
What's that?
Uh, I said I'm just following the science.
But there's a social aspect to that. Yesterday, I went to the local grocery store that I've been shopping at through all this stuff, and their sign has changed. And now they say if you're vaccinated, you don't have to wear a mask. So I walked in without my mask, but everybody else in the store had their mask on, so I just put my mask on. It's like,
Yeah.
why make people uncomfortable?
Yeah,
Why?
I'm with you on
Why
that.
be
And
in
I do that as well. I
Yeah,
do.
it's just decency.
Yeah.
I went to get a pizza at my local place, and I stepped one foot in the door, and the guy goes, "Wear a mask if you want to wear a mask. Don't wear a mask if you don't. I don't want to hear about fucking politics. I don't want to hear about if someone comes in not wearing one, don't yell at them. All I want to do is make goddamn pizza." And he just like it was such an amazing. I was like, "This is great. This is so great." He goes, "I don't want to hear fucking anything." He's like, "We could talk sports, we could talk pizza, and that's it." And I was like, all right, cool."
I just know I had a lot of the like designer masks, and which was fine while it was cold, but as soon as it got hot around here, I was like, dude, I'm over this. So then I went back to the really just the little surgical, the thin ones
Yeah.
that are not making it, like it's impossible to breathe when it's 95 degrees and you have like one of those. It's hard. So, but I had to like I do what everybody's comfortable with, you know. They say if I'm vaccinated, I'm cool. I'm like, I'm cool. That's why I got a vaccine. So I don't
Right.
have to wear this thing. I wear them on planes anyway because of I was doing that before the pandemic started, just for the recycled air, and it messes with my sinuses. So I was planning on doing that for the rest of my life anyway, you know. But
Wearing a mask while riding a bicycle turned out to be an interesting thing. You start
oh,
breathing heavy, it's
I never could do that, and that's our thing. Like me and my buddy Arthur have ridden 8,000 miles together, and
wow.
it's very flat here in Florida. And
Yeah.
I absolutely refused to wear a mask when I was riding because it was just like the humidity down here is so heavy, like it's impossible for me anyway. I was like, I'm gonna fall over. But nobody was out. We were like literally the only people out, riding at the beginning, and then
I,
Yeah,
I
you're also riding on a trail that's like riddled with alligators and shit too. So
I
you have
am
bigger fish to fry.
outdoors, and I already had COVID. I was like, "What? Leave me alone," like.
I'm with you 100% though, David, on the whole like, if you walk into a place and like I just went to see J-Rad this Saturday in New Haven at Westville Music Bowl. Phenomenal venue, by the way. Great setup, and but not one person had a mask. The staff had a mask, But no one had one on, and it's just when you're in a situation like that where everyone doesn't have one, you're like, okay, you almost kind of forget for a second about what we've been going through. And then if I'm at CVS pharmacy and everyone has a mask, I run back out to the car and grab it and throw it on. I mean, I don't think if your ego isn't running the show, then it's really not
Yeah.
that big of a deal.
Yeah. I just keep it in my pocket. And I
Yeah.
just read the room as I
Yeah.
Yeah,
go in,
throw a
and
bandana on your
I
right.
keep Nigel's in my other pocket, and then Jess will have Kavi or something. You know what I mean? Like if we're running around doing father and son stuff, and at our store it's
David,
half and half. You know.
have you been getting out to do to play shows or to attend shows or?
Tomorrow I'm playing a gig, an outdoor gig in front of people at a brew pub, and it's the first time I've played outside the house half a dozen times since the thing started. Four of those were on my front lawn. I started April 4th of last year. I tried to start scheduling like a live streaming show, well, so and so's doing this and he's doing that. Then and I thought, well, if I wait till nobody else is streaming, I'm never going to play. So I started playing every day. I just said I'm going to play every day at 4 and see if anybody shows up. And I started playing every day, and it turned out great. I acquired a group of a couple of dozen regulars that are literally there every day. It's been a wonderful, wonderful experience. And a few times I invited Scott Guberman over a couple times, and we set up on my front lawn and we live stream from my front lawn, just run a little Ethernet cable out from the router to the front lawn, right? So we did that a couple times, and I have a buddy, Jeff Hobbs, who's a multi-instrumentalist, and he came over. We played on my front lawn once. So that's pretty much it. A band that I play with does original music called the Yerba Buena Orchestra. We did a Bread and Roses, a volunteer gig. We entertained down by the Oakland Coliseum. The Alameda Community Food Bank distributes food a couple days a week. They just, they give away, like 50-pound boxes of produce to anybody who needs one. And so
Wow.
Bread and Roses, which is this wonderful organization that Mimi Fariña started back in the 70s to bring music to shut-ins and stuff. I've played locked wards and homes and stuff. So we played in the tent, entertaining the workers who were giving away the food, and people that were driving by in their car with their trunk lid open got to listen to a little bit of us. So that was really fun. We played for a couple hours one morning, but that's been
Wow.
it for my playing in front of people. So tomorrow there's a new beer place that opened in Tam Junction in Mill Valley, California, just down the hill from Bobby's place. And I'm playing a 3-hour set tomorrow afternoon. It'll be the first time I've played like a regular show under my own name in front of people in 15 months, 16 months.
Wow.
I'm excited about doing
That's
it.
awesome, man. Yeah.
And I'm going to live stream from there. So I'll do my daily live stream. It's just going to be a 3-hour show that starts a little later. Everything got easier all through this. I bought a really nice camera called a Mevo that's got a built-in Wi-Fi system and stuff. You just set it up, and your phone is the interface to the world, right? So I bring this little camera, set it up in front of my stage, and when I start playing, I just turn it on my iPhone, and it starts streaming through Facebook. It's just ridiculously easy.
Wow.
That's great.
That's really cool.
So how easy it all is now.
To be your own TV station.
I've had so much fun. I have never felt more appreciated and heard in my entire life, and I've been a performer for 50 years.
Nice.
Have people that listen to me every day, that send me requests every morning, that it's just been so wonderful. And it's not that I didn't feel like I had a reasonably happy career as a working musician before, but I'd never felt so connected to a particular group of people that are really listening, really appreciating it, and really giving me feedback.
That's
So
beautiful.
that's been great, and that's going to carry me out back into the world of real, playing. It's just sort of a nice little moral boost along the way.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to getting back out there and playing, but I'm not sure I'm going to give up the live streaming thing. I think whenever I'm home, I'm just going to go ahead and do it because it's so much fun. It's been awesome for my chops, man.
And when
My
it's that
playing
easy to do too,
never better.
that's awesome.
It is so. Well, I listen to your to Tales from the Golden Road religiously, and after going to JRAD Saturday, and it was my first time seeing Grateful Dead music outdoors at I saw Teal at the Cap, and that was indoors, my first indoor experience, and it was great. And I mean, the music was phenomenal, and being in Garcia's, and everyone was so happy, calming, like a Thanksgiving or something. And then to go to spend time in a lot and see all the people selling their tie dyes and people running into each other who haven't seen each other in forever, and then going into the show and being able to kind of look at this outdoor bowl venue, and it's pouring rain and they start playing Brown Eyed Women, and the whole place just kind of you could just feel the release from the 15-month tension. And everyone's hugging, and it was emotional. It was extremely emotional, and it also reinforced something that someone talked about this week when they called you about just the healing properties of this music.
Yeah.
It really is something with, I've seen some music, but Grateful Dead music, those lyrics and the singing along and everybody kind of just feeling it, and there's something incredibly powerful about this, and it was wonderful to hear that person call. I forget who it was, but they used Grateful Dead music in therapy.
Yes. Well, we had a follow-up call later from a woman in Arizona who was responding to that call. But that's one of those things about this music. I've always thought like playing in the band was a perfect example of that. It's a song that's got this kind of little philosophical conversation going on in it. If a man among you got no sin upon his hand and all that.
Mm.
And then they give you this little thought to cogitate on, and then they go off in this beautiful meditative jam for you to think along with it. And that's one of the things I've always loved about this music is that it gives you something to think about, and then it gives you a sweet little atmosphere in which to do that thinking. And you can dance or you can sit and contemplate. But that's one of the things about Grateful Dead music that I think sets it apart from a lot of other jam band music is the depth of it. I'm sorry, but Fish is never going to make you cry like Robert Hunter and Jerry Garcia. With
Well,
tremendous respect for Fish's musicianship, Keller Williams once said in an interview in Acoustic Guitar Magazine that he said something like, "I don't like to hear about people's problems when I'm at a show, so I don't write about my problems." And I thought, well, you're missing out on half of what life is about if you don't include the dark stuff in your songwriting. It's like to I want the full range of experience in this music, and that's what Grateful Dead did. That just kind of made it a deeper experience for you. The songs really had something to say to you, and they required you to think along with them. Hunter's lyrics were open enough that they were like a pencil sketch, and you had to fill in the details and the color in that drawing. So everybody's version of that picture was different.
Yeah. I think when
totally.
you go through really bad stuff, uh, it makes you more aware and hopefully more grateful of when things are good. Because,
Mm.
when just things are just ho hum, like just not bad, things are actually amazingly great. And I always try to remind myself of that when I'm sick. Like if I
Mm.
have the flu, I just feel like crap, or if I have a migraine. It's like, man, remember when you're just at baseline, just how great, insanely great that is,
Yeah.
and how grateful you should be. Much less to have like a real health struggle, like to have
Yeah.
cancer or have, or just somebody else in your life. Any kind of thing that you go. That's why all the bad stuff is so important. I mean, you don't know what good is without it.
Yeah, you can't
Yeah.
appreciate the light without having experienced the dark. And that Grateful Dead shows, the second set of a Grateful Dead show was always this incredible spiritual journey, and it would go through the scary stuff, the abstract music and the drums in space, and then Jerry would sing some beautiful, deep ballad like Wharf Rat or Black
Stella
Peter,
Blue.
it would really take you all the way into the quietest places of the soul. And then bang, Sugar Magnolia, Good Lovin', Celebrate, motherfuckers. And it was all of that. You had to get all the way. And Jerry once told, and Blair, he gave an interview to Blair Jackson once, and he talked about how every second set, there's a moment of perfect silence at a moment in that second set. And it's always in Stella Blue or it's in Warfrite. There's a perfect silence
Mm.
in the middle of all that. And then it comes all the way back up again to the end of a Grateful Dead show. It's just the full range of emotion was available.
Yeah. It's like that moment right after a rainstorm or something when like that steam is kind of coming off. And as someone, I'd be remiss if I didn't say I've bawled my eyes out very hard at many a Fish show. I have to say that. It definitely does do it for me, and it does for a lot of other people. But I do know what you mean. I think there's a difference in the emotions. You know what I mean? And the we've talked with Kreutzmann and John Mayer last couple weeks ago about how Oteil, you mentioned that there were times that like Jerry's voice or Jerry's playing will just stop you in your tracks. You're just listening at
after
home.
my brother died,
Yeah.
I would be, and I'm still at a point where I was learning a lot of trying to learn Jerry tunes to sing, so I'd just be playing it around the house, and it would just like either his guitar or that doggone voice. And it would just like, whatever you're doing, you're doing folding a shirt and then you're just sitting there stopped,
Yeah.
and very healing. And again, if my brother had died, right, it's in that deep pain that revealed to me like how healing it was, where before it was just going by me, and then it felt like, when you put something on a burn, like aloe vera, like real aloe vera on a burn. That's what, and I was like, wow. So that pain revealed it,
I need to interject while we're having this moment here. Oteil, how much I appreciate your singing of those songs.
Thank you, man.
I really,
Agreed.
really, really love hearing you sing those tunes.
I think, again, like what you were talking about, that pain, it was a matter of timing, because I think it's the time in my life when I was starting to sing them. We were losing so many people. And it hasn't stopped. It's just a long exodus, And I was like, it's all timing, man. Plants bloom when they're supposed to bloom. And so thank you. But I really think that I couldn't have done it before at any earlier time in my life, because I just hadn't been through enough shit,
We understand what singing is, and that's another profound experience I've had playing this stuff every day. I'm keeping track. I've played like Looks Like Rain 70 some times since I started doing this, right? And I picked up a couple songs I hadn't done before, and I started doing the days between. And I've loved the song since the first time I heard it, and I've been playing it. I'm in a band with this Hawaiian guy, Stephen Inglis. And I've stood behind him, just accompanying him while he played that song, just deeply, deeply enjoying that song. And then I started singing it myself, and it took it to a whole nother level. I was like crying a few times when I started doing it, because that song, it's such a deep story about them, but it's also about us, because we were there. We walked halfway around the world with them, And it's been such a profound experience to sing those songs and to inhabit them.
Yeah.
That's one of three that I'm deathly afraid of.
Fortunately for you, Bobby's singing that.
Well, but I mean, it just separate from Dead and Company, because I do a lot with my band that we don't do with Dead and Company. But I've always been in fear of Standing on the Moon, Days Between, and Morning Dew. They're just songs that put you in your place. It's kind of like, whether you believe in God or not, if you were to be all of a sudden standing before God, you would probably put your head down.
Yeah, but
because it's all, the awe of it just puts you in your place. You know what I mean?
Morning Dew. There's something such a monumental song in the Grateful Dead's canon, and it's not even original.
Right.
But that's none of those great contrasts. You listen to Bonnie Dobson's version, and then what the Grateful Dead made it into. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
tremendous musical achievement. It's like chamber music in Grateful Dead land or something.
But to see you, I watched O'Teal sing Morning Dew at Garcia's, and it was just one of those perfect moments when there's that poster on the wall right to where I was watching. It's like a huge Jerry, and you're standing right parallel to him, and you're singing Morning Dew, and it was just perfect. I mean, it was just, you had everybody in that room like on their toes. Like everyone was like just in complete and utter like joy and awe watching you do Morning Dew there, and it was just fantastic. And
Thank you.
because it's the moment, it's not that whole perfect thing, you know what I mean? Like that song, we all needed that at that
But
moment.
there's something in there that's, like, there's not much to Morning Dew. It's like, why are you so deathly afraid of it? And then I
so
would
easy.
try it, and it's like, there's nothing there but letting out what's really in there, like letting that pain out. It's not about anything technical. Melvin asked me to sing "Standing on the Moon" one time. I think we were at the Warfield. I can't remember, and I was like, I don't know, man. That one, it's
Really?
another thing. There's nothing to it, but it's just like you really gotta like let it out, right? So I was like, if Melvin asked me, Melvin asked me to do Gamora, I was just like, all right. So if Melvin asked you, you just do it. And so I tried it, and it just was not there. And I said, Melvin, I'm just not. And he was like, yeah, it's not right, And it wasn't hurtful, but it was like it either is or it isn't. And he was like, it's not. Yeah, let's do something else.
It's great that he respected your decision on that. Because
Yeah.
one of the things that bugs me about our musical culture is how many people don't take the vocals as seriously as they need to.
Yeah.
You know, O'Teal, Jerry had a sort of a high tenor, and a lot of people can't hit his notes.
Dude, it's hard. Like, must have been the Roses. It
I've
just stays up there.
I transposed a lot of his songs down. I do Scarlet
Really?
Petunias in G. Yeah,
Really?
I don't want to try and hit his notes, and I don't.
Yeah.
To me, I'm not. I don't need to play the song the same way he did because I don't need to
Yeah.
play the licks the way he did. I'm adapting them for solo looped performance, right?
Yeah.
So I'm keeping the stuff I need to, but I'm more interested in the essence of the song than in replicating anybody else's presentation of it. And I just feel like a responsibility to do the song in my own voice. That's what Jerry taught me.
Yes.
Like tell the story in your own voice. Nobody complains that Jerry didn't sing "Morning Dew" the way Bonnie Dobson did.
Yeah,
Jerry
right.
sings "Morning Dew" the way Jerry sings "Morning Dew," right? Yeah. So I'm singing "Morning Dew." I very rarely do it. It doesn't really lend itself to this solo thing, but I do Days Between a lot, and I just feel like I got my own deep relationship with that song, and I'm telling the story in my voice, not pretending to be somebody else.
Yeah.
And I wish more people would work harder on their singing in this culture.
Well, Bob stressed that a lot about, he seeks to become the character
Yes.
in the song or the storyteller or whatever. And that's what's so profound about, like some people may prefer my Morning Dew over Bob's, but when I listen to Bob sing that, he means that shit so much, man.
Mm-hmm.
I could cry thinking. I mean, he really, and it's nice to be next to him when he's really just like, it's opera,
And he's singing it for his brother. I mean, like when he does the Days Between, it's like that's all just he's giving it all up to Jerry, and it's just so evident. So evident. It's kind of why I love this Wolf Bros thing that he's doing, man. I just think that it's just so incredible to like put his. It's such a Bobby take on things, and it's just perfect. I mean, the tempo, the sound, the horns, the whole thing. It's just perfect. Pedal steel. He's a cowboy. He always has been, and I love that. But like to your point with Jerry too, like, one of my favorite albums that I ended up kind of stumbling across at a very early, not for kids only, was one of my favorite, and it's just Jerry and David doing these old kind of, Americana kids tunes, I guess, but Freight Train is on that Elizabeth Cotton song. And it's just the way that Jerry sings that. And it's just like, just bury him down by the creek and tell him all I've gone to sleep and the whole thing. Like, it's just it's a song about dying, but it's such a beautifully sung song. Like, it's okay. Death is a part of this that we're all going to experience. And that to me was always something, here's this guy that's known for Casey Jones and blah, blah, blah. But it's like, there's such a richness and a depth to him that that's the stuff I love so much.
My bluegrass buddies crack me up because there's this cat named Jeff Autry. Great guitarist. And, bluegrass was the first happy music that I've related to. And then it opened the door to gospel for me because I preferred the dark, Miles, modal. That was how I was kind of tuned up, But then when I got into the bluegrass, you're playing it's like real major and up and bright. And then the lyrics are like, real.
Thanks for listening. We'll be right back after this. What's up, everyone? I'm Mike.
And I'm Oteil.
And these are our Sunset Lake CBD gummies that are almost gone. Sunset Lake CBD is a farmer-owned business that ships CBD products directly from their farm to your door.
For years, Sunset Lake was a Vermont dairy farm producing milk for Ben & Jerry's ice cream. In 2018, they diversified and started growing hemp for CBD.
And with a product for everyone, they offer pre-rolls, hemp cigars, and hemp flowers, as well as tinctures, gummies, and CBD-crafted coffee to help with stress, aches, and pains.
Sunset Lake CBD saves you money by shipping high-quality CBD products directly from their farm to your door.
Want to know what I've been using a lot of, Oteil? This salve with the arnica on my old bones. You get back from a show and you got tore ankle, rub a little bit of this on there, you're ready to dance the next day. And Sunset Lake comes a time listeners can visit sunsetlakecbd.com and use promo code TIME for 20% off of their purchase. That's sunsetlakecbd.com, promo code TIME. And tell them we sent you.
Thanks for listening.
You ever heard Unknown Hinson?
Oh, absolutely. Dude, Colonel Bruce and him were like this, dude.
Oh, God.
That
He did some weird shit in the last year or two, but the first time I heard him was when I first landed in North Carolina about 20-some years ago, and I just thought he took the darkness of that music and made it manifest in the funniest way.
He just is the funniest. He's like if Eddie Munster as an adult had played Rip. He's an amazing guitarist. Did you ever see him on Squidbillies? He did the voice.
No.
On that cartoon. It's the weirdest.
I want to play live once. I mean, this guy's got songs about a dude who's carrying a woman he loves around in the trunk of his car and shit. He's got a song called "Closer to the Light," which is a kind of spiritual tune from a guy who's about to get put to death. It's really, really funny shit.
I love it.
Dude, he is such a character and a ripping guitar player. It looks like Eddie Munster at like 50. It's just like so out, man. Him and the Colonel together was priceless.
God, that must have been fun.
Oh my God, it was priceless. The Unknown Hinson. I'm so glad you hit me with that one. We got to get him on the podcast. Oh my God.
Hell yeah, man.
He's such a character. He's so dynamic. Oh, we could, yeah.
I think he got involved in some creepy shit in the last couple of years. Keep an eye on. He might have suddenly might have made himself unpalatable. I forget.
Oh well.
His name, it's one of those things. The Me Too era might have caught up with him or something. I don't know.
Oh, unknown. It all becomes known.
So a 3-hour set, David. Let's get back to something happy. A 3-hour set. That's gonna be a hoot.
I have many things to think about. For one thing, I've been playing sitting down for a year and a half, and I really like that.
Me too.
I've learned how to move the air sitting down. I can sing just as well sitting down as I do standing up now, and I really like it. And I think I may play the show sitting down. Scott Guberman played there last week, and he plays the piano sitting down, so I figure I can probably sit down too and get away with it. Man. But I've been playing 1 hour sets and an hour and 15 minutes on Monday, and this will be the first time I played 3 hours in a really long time.
That's a long show.
I'm pretty sure I've got the stamina to do it, but it'll be interesting to feel like pacing a show. It won't be like a concert because it's a brew pub, right? People be coming in and out and shit. So it's just going to be a 3 hour. In a certain way, I felt like my daily thing has been kind of like a hippie piano bar anyway.
Right.
Because I played like 400 different songs. I've been playing stuff from my entire performing career. I'm playing things like Moon Shadow and Father and Son, all these like, Jackson Brown tunes that I used to play when I was a kid. So I'm revisiting all of that stuff and several dozen of my original tunes and several dozen dead tunes and a lot of free improvisation with my looper and stuff. So I don't worry about filling the time at all. But it's going to be interesting to feel how a 3 hour thing flows after. And I mean, also my regular touring thing, I play opening sets in clubs. I'll play like a 50, 60, 75-minute set and then sit in with an electric band later in the show, right?
Right.
That's my usual touring thing now.
Mm.
So I've been playing like, I've had a repertoire of maybe, like 15 or 20 songs that tended to be what I would play over the course of a tour was those tunes, right? So here instead, I'm exercising my entire life history and revisiting favorite old songs and stuff. So I'm looking forward to having an unstructured 3 hour time slot with a bunch of people looking on who are generally favorable toward what I'm doing. And I figure I can lean on my strongest stuff. I can jam a little bit. I can sing as loud as I want to out there, and it'll be fun. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to it, and not really concerned about it. I think it's just mostly just going to be really, really loose fun.
Sure.
I'm worried, man. My back, it's with these 6-string basses. It's tough, man. I did a couple of gigs. I was like, man, I need to channel my George Porter. He could sit down and nobody gets bummed out. If I sit down, people are like, what's wrong? I'm like, what? Just give me a kiss.
Robin Sylvester sits down a lot on stage these days too. I think
these things are heavy, like
yeah.
When it's time to get up and do it, I'll get up and then. But if we're gonna chill out, let me sit down.
My guitar is not heavy. I played one of Jerry's. He let me play one of his guitars back in '81. I forget which one it was. It might have been Wolf or something. That fucking thing was heavy.
Those Alembics.
That shit. Those are heavy guitars.
Those are heavy like basses. So imagine the basses.
So do you train for that?
I was doing a lot more yoga.
It's carrying two kids around.
Yeah, it's easier when the kids are not, like if I'm on the road and the kids are not around, it's really easy for me to do yoga in the morning and then do my bike ride or whatever. Just the routine thing is a lot easier. But
is your spinal column going to be stressed by carrying that damn thing for a long time again? Do you do stretches and things like that?
Yeah, I mean, the yoga stretches it out. And then I also have a teeter. I have an inversion table, and they actually have one on the road with Dead and Company. So my back is usually much better when I'm on the road because I'm like doing the yoga every morning, like literally like probably 6 mornings out of 7 and on the inversion table. But I think I'm also going to do the chair thing. People are just going to have to like let me channel my George Porter.
I'm going to make a Let O'Teal Sit t-shirt.
Let O'Teal Sit. Yes.
I'm with that.
Oh,
it's kind of, you got it, brother. You got it. But you know what, though? It is true. You said something that was interesting, and that I think that, like, it's almost easier when you're on the road to get into the rhythm you need to get into to survive being on the road. Like, it's right now, it's like thinking about it, and even with stand-up, and it's like I'm not carrying a huge bass around. I'm just carrying 30 years of anxiety with me, which is just as heavy on the spine.
Same war, though. I mean,
absolutely, dude.
If it's messing up your mind or messing up your spine, whatever.
Hard to hide behind.
I don't have anything to hide behind, man. All I have is, hey guys, give it up for your staff, and then I just take a deep breath and drink water. And no, but
I think I could do what you do, Mike.
I know it. Thank you, but it's been weird getting back into it. it's been, like we had plexiglass in front of us, separating us and the crowd for a little bit. And David, the funniest thing was that if you looked at it right, your reflection would be looking back at you off of the plexiglass. So if you bomb, your conscious is looking back at you going, quit, kid, you stink. So that was rough. But the crowds have been, you were talking about a 3-hour. I was just thinking about if I had to do a 3-hour set, my first thing back was like a headlining thing in Providence where I had to do like an hour for 55 minutes to an hour, to wrap the show up. And I went up like, oh, I'm going to do all this new stuff and all these thoughts I thought during the pandemic. And I'm going to be, I've turned a corner and 2.0 Mike. And nope. I about 30 seconds of bombing and I just started playing the hits. I was like, I got to get back into this, man. It was rough.
I don't worry about that. I know that I'm good at what I do, and I feel like at this point I can deliver a solid performance anytime, and it's really just a matter of whether people like what I do or not.
Sure, yeah, of course.
Well, I don't have that existential crush,
right,
fear anymore ever when I perform. I just don't, I feel
wow,
like
I wish I could get that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, the first time I remember the day that I solved stage fright. It was in 1986, and it was when Jerry was down with his coma, and the Barsotti brothers put together this thing called Night of the Living Deadheads, just a way to put the community together and dig some stuff. And we actually recorded an interview with Jerry that we played at the event and stuff like that.
Nice.
But my band was invited to play. And I thought, oh, fuck, man, I'm playing for all the BGP people here and the Barsotti brothers. And what if I
No
suck?
pressure.
And I had the conversation with them. I said, well, wait a minute. They asked you to come.
Yeah.
They asked you to come and play because they think your band is good. So what's the worry? And I just, in that moment, from then on, I just have not had that thing of like, oh my God, they're going to hate me. And
for me, it's not, are they going to hate me? I feel like people have the expectation of me on my best night, right?
Yeah.
I've had some really good nights, but I don't feel that way all the time. And I'm like, what if I just fall way short of that tonight? Because I certainly feel like I don't have this mojo that I had on whatever my best night was for whatever myriad of reasons. So it's just always, my critic just operates a little differently, I guess,
You certainly must recognize that your standard, the standard that you're holding for yourself, is infinitely higher than the one the audience is even able to level at you, right?
Yeah, but they've still seen me on my best night when the standard I held for myself was like, yeah, that was it. And everybody knew that was it. And so now there's always that, like, man, I'm 56 now. Like I can't, Did
I ever tell you, Oteil, about that time? One time I was in Reno doing shows, and I was very early on, and I was like sitting after I got off stage. I would run over. We had 3 shows a night for like 5 nights straight at a casino at Silver Legacy Resort. And I would get off stage and I'd hate myself because I'm like, I stink, I'm a hack, blah, blah, blah. And I'd sit down at my notebook and I'd be circling things and crossing off jokes and moving the last one to the top and whatever else. And this guy walks over and he was like such a road hack, kind of like, no offense to him, but it was just like popsicle stick jokes, And he just comes over and he gave me the most unbelievable advice that I never forgot. He goes, kid, he goes, these people are never going to be in a room together ever again. He's like, just give them a night that, just if you're having fun, they'll have fun. And it was something that made me realize, like, yeah, I chose to do this. Like, no one's making me do stand-up comedy. Like, I'm not doing this to keep I'm losing money, for Christ's sake, like at that point in my career. And it's like, just remember that you chose to do this. And like that part is when I get like in my own head about all of the things that, being self-employed and doing, are my jokes brand new and are they this and that? Yeah. I chose to do this. And that's the thing that gets me into that, like what you were talking about, David. It's like, yeah, we all chose to be here. Like, it's not,
I
It's
think
gonna
it's
be
the love. It's the love that pulls me through, and I forget who what it told me, but it's just the idea of like, and you look out in the audience. In the case of with music, which is a different thing, they're really pulling for you.
mm,
Like like if I make a mistake, chances are they're going to be like, yeah, like like
yeah,
when
it's
Bob
true.
forgets a line,
Nobody, nobody's waiting to cut you down for it. And there
yeah,
might be some schmuck in the corner whose
yeah,
mission is to critique everything. But really, I remember there was a woman that was working for me who started doing a DJ shift at KPFA, and she was like scared to death the first time she was going on. And I said, when you're listening to the radio, do you assume that the person that's talking to you is an idiot and that they're a loser and that they suck? No, you assume that they know what they're doing and they belong there, and they're there because they know what they're doing. So you're going to get that same assumption of competence from the people that are listening when you come on the air. So don't assume that they're looking for an excuse to kick
yeah,
your ass. And I think I just eased her mind enough that she went ahead and did it, and it didn't lose her shit, and it all worked out fine.
Mm.
yeah. Bill
It's
Walton is
like,
good for me like that.
oh,
Bill
gee,
can talk me off a ledge real
Bill's the most
quick.
positive person. I have a competition with Bill because I insist that I'm the luckiest man in the world. Because I don't get that credit.
He'll give you a hell of a run convincing convincing people though.
Also,
I
your
just
neck
love
will
it.
hurt after arguing with him. You're going to need the inversion table.
Oh, I got to tell you guys a thing. One time, the inversion table reminded me that Bob Weir used to have this gravity boot thing in his house. These hooks that you hang in the ceiling, and you
Oh,
put these boots on, and you'd hang from the ceiling. And I don't know what it was supposed to do, but he had that thing. And I once interviewed him in his house where we took turns hanging from the gravity boots while we did the interview. And my transcript actually says Bob down, David up.
that's great.
That's so cool.
I'm always afraid of those things because I was like, I know that I'll screw it up and it's not put up right and I'm going to fall right on my head. Like the table takes a minute for you to trust, but you could there's a way you could go slow. Like you
Yeah.
can ease into it so you're not so yeah.
Leave it up to Bob to have gravity boots.
Of course he did.
Well, this was 1981, so
I love it, man.
long time ago.
David, are you going to hit are you staying predominantly in the Pacific Northwest Bay Area, West Coast? Are you going to start hitting the road a little bit? Like, what's your thoughts on that? Are you going to head east?
I am a lot of things. I'm waiting to make some decisions. One thing that happened was my booking agency went out of business in the pandemic because the two guys that were running it had to go feed their families, and so I'm now looking for new representation.
Okay.
And I'm talking to a guy. I've got two records that I want to get out. I've remixed my first album called Home by Morning that came out in '97, and it's got like Bobby Black on 3 tunes and David Grisman on 3 tunes, a bunch of great musicians.
Wow.
Daryl Anger played on a track.
Oh,
So I'm
he's
looking
great.
for a label to put that out because it's a really nice Americana record. And then on April 15th, I did a session with a cellist. My cousin, Stephen Katz, is a conservatory trained cellist. And we went into the studio together and just did an afternoon of pure improvisation. Just me and him just started playing to see what came out. And it was a wonderful experience. He thought there was a sort of a genetic link between
Ah.
us. We really had a musical affinity. We grew up separately, totally different musical traditions, but we just clicked. It was amazing, a wonderful experience. And then I edited and mixed the whole thing, and now I'm looking for a label to put that out too.
Cool.
So I have two records that I want to put out that are entirely different worlds. No idea how to get those into the world. And I want to start touring again, but I don't think I want to go out as much as I did before. I've really enjoyed being at home. My wife and I have a really nice groove going. She took up the ook and she practices the ook every day. And
Nice.
that
Wow.
just add a level of joy to this house I can't.
Yeah, totally.
But I do want to go out and play again, and I do want to go to the East Coast again, but I don't think I'm going to do it until maybe we sort of had decided that I wasn't going to get on an airplane before the end of the year. We may have to revisit that because things are opening up a little faster than I thought. But I don't really want to get back out and become like a road dog again. I'd rather
Yeah.
do more, do a fewer things that are cooler and spend more time at home. Another thing that's going on is Jay Blakesberg and I are working on a book of my Grateful Dead photography. Because
Oh,
Ah,
wow.
I spent in when I started, I was a music journalist for about 10 years. From 76 to 86, I wrote for music magazines, like Record and Rolling. I had one story in Rolling Stone, wrote for BAM magazine for years, did a couple pieces for Musician, etc. And I always took a
nice.
camera with me. So I have years and years and years of photos of all these different people and a bunch of Grateful Dead related stuff and some really interesting stuff that nobody else got, like a picture of Phil and his mom, and a
Oh,
picture up at Phil's house one night, him and Kreutzmann like fooling around with a steering wheel off a race car and things like that. So I have a bunch of sort of interesting Grateful Dead photos that nobody else ever saw. So Jay and I are working together to putting together a book. So I have three big projects that I want to place in the next few months. And as I say, I don't want to give up this thing of playing every day. When
Yeah.
I was touring, I'd come home from a tour and I wouldn't pick up my guitar for a week. And I really like playing every day and I like singing every day.
Yeah.
So I want to sort of figure out a way to resume performing in public, but not in a way that winds up chopping my performing life into really small chunks that are widely separated. I don't want to like play regular weekly gigs in a bar at home or nothing either, but it's like I want to figure out a balance so I can perform in a way that I really that works for me, that makes the money I need to make some money doing this. It's not the only source of income that I have, but I need to make some money playing.
right.
And so I'm just going to figure out a way to sort of reset things that is at a pace that suits my age and my place in life and my desire to stay creative, but at a manageable pace.
I've been
Perfect.
hearing that a lot. Musicians that they're like, I'm ready to play again, but I don't know if I want to grind it as hard as I did before.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good thing to.
Well,
It's never a bad thing to have cultivated a good home life. It
Well, I
gives
had
you,
a good home life when I started. Now, I didn't
yeah,
I didn't start touring until I was already happily married and several years into that. So
yeah,
I wasn't young and stupid. I didn't
yeah,
I've never in my touring life stayed up all night, didn't chase women. It's like I already had a home life when I started touring, so I never participated in the stupid aspects of that lifestyle.
yeah.
So
Hmm.
I've been touring like an adult all along.
Lucky for you, because so many people that
that's a good name for a
if you're
tour.
yeah, touring like an
David Gans
adult.
touring like an adult.
Damn right, man. It's a rare thing,
I know, totally. It's the most original tour ever, to be honest.
I mean, if you're never home, how are you going to cultivate a home life? I mean, these guys are on the road like all the time, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, no,
I,
it's
I,
lucky
I've
totally
you,
true.
I've
man.
known musicians who really kind of were only happy out there and whose home lives weren't particularly satisfying to them. And that's not me, man. I
Me
waited a
neither.
good long time to get married till I found the right partner.
Mm,
And I'm really, really deeply into this marriage with this amazing human being. And she's been great. She married a radio producer who stayed home.
yeah.
4 years into our marriage, I started being a touring musician. So she's been really, really great about
Yeah,
accommodating all of that. And
Yeah.
and so there's I cherish my home life tremendously.
yeah. That
Well,
pandemic sure. Woo! I had a year of real bliss in that department, And Kavi's only 3, so she's never really known me to be gone. I left for 10 days one time, and she's still talking about it. She hates Colorado. She has a total bias
Because it took you away?
for 10 days. Yeah. Screw Colorado. That's her bumper sticker. So, I was like, we gotta go. It's really good coffee. So I'm kind of worried. She's just not used to it, and I'm not used to it anymore either. But here we go. It's ramping up. Here we come.
Well, we're super excited to hear what you've recorded and to see these
Yeah,
pictures,
man.
David. Thank you so much
Yeah.
for spending some time with us. And
Yeah.
the thing, I always, you and I have talked a bunch of times on microphones and stuff, but I always have to say thanks for Tales from the Golden Road. And I just, God, I love so much. I listen for that caller that just is explaining an acid trip at like an 83 show, and he's like, did you guys see that elephant man? Because I did. Like, I love that guy.
We have had such a great batting average. We have had so few lame calls. I mean, it's amazing how rare it is that we have to ever hang up on anybody. Usually, it's even rare that we have to ease somebody off the air. Once in a while, we get somebody who just starts talking and we can't find a path in it.
That happened when I came on your show. This lady called. I was one of those rare ones, and she just she took a left, and Mayor actually texted me just like, because he was listening, at the time. I don't remember. He was out the road or something.
I love
God,
that.
it was funny.
Well, the thing
even that was great,
Yeah, and the thing about their show is that David and Gary don't go, the theme of today's calls are blank. What ends up happening is organically it turns into it gains a life of its own each episode, and someone will be like, oh, I'm calling about the person that called 2 times ago about Jerry Band and blah blah blah, and it all follows into this night. I love it. I absolutely love it.
Own continuity. At the very beginning, when they proposed this to us, just a month or two into the existence of the channel, it's the end of 2007, and they wanted to do they called it, they want to do a roundtable show, get 2 or 3 experts and sit down and talk about a subject, and the first show that we did, we invited Eric Christensen, who had done a documentary on the Trips Festival. So we did a show about the Trips Festival with Eric, and I think we might have lined up a few phone guests and stuff, and it just went really great. And they thought it was going to be a once-a-month thing. And everybody liked it so much, they decided to make it a weekly thing. And very, very quickly, 2 or 3 shows into it, we realized that attempting to create a structure for it was a mistake.
Right.
It would, it's there's the same reason I never make a set list when I'm playing a show. I don't want to decide ahead of time what the path is going to be. I want to feel my way through it in real time and play the next song that makes sense now. So the calls come in as they tend to do, and we field them and we improvise around them. I think it's the perfectly Grateful Dead way to do this thing.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so great. And as someone who's always loved call-in radio, it's just great when someone has a story that they think is going to send you off on this amazing, I know what you mean story, and it doesn't. And you go, uh-huh. And they go, so yeah, I just wanted to tell you that, and I really think you guys are doing a great thing. And then they panic. It's just finally you get to know what it's like to be a comic, where it's you think something's gonna make this fucking giant, and there's nothing, and then you go, so yeah, and but it's so great to hear those calls backpedal and try to keep the ball in the air.
Mike, because I really feel like musicians operate in much larger chunks of information. I mean, you're living and dying every 15 seconds, really.
Yeah, totally.
We have 10-minute songs, our cycle of death and dying and life and death is much longer than yours. And how do you deal with the stress of that?
Well, again, I think it's like you had both said in your experiences that it's it's kind of like that learning originally. See, I could tell someone who's new or a little green behind the ears by how fast one joke follows the next. They're afraid of silence. They're afraid of, we're all, when we're starting out, afraid of silence. Now I kind of love it because I personally like to take a premise and almost pose it as a question and see what I get from the audience as a reply, which I already know where I'm going to go with it, regardless of what answer they throw me. But it keeps me always keeping a census, if you will. So I use every crowd almost as like a test for the next one. So like if I throw a topic out about, you know, my dad, or about, you know, microdosing, or about things that I'm, you know, it gives me a chance to kind of keep it conversational, keep it where this is the tempo we're going to be at. And it frees me up to associate with the crowd and take a pause. Getting back on stage was difficult with the pandemic. One of the times I got back on stage, I asked a girl a question and she went off on this like long answer, and I just turned to the rest of the crowd and I go, sometimes doing crowd work can be a crapshoot. And that just created this big like moment, you know. So it's I think, and not to sound super, you know, gratuitous toward the Grateful Dead, but I really do feel like it's that thing of making each show different and being okay with them all not being 100% if you kill all the time on stage as a comic, you're doing something wrong. You know, like you're not taking chances, you're not taking risks, you're not. So I think it, like, you get to a point where you go, like you said, David, like, I know how to do this. Like I've done every horrible gig. I've done every incredible gig. You know, I've done from a laundromat to Radio City Music Hall and everything in between. So it's like, I have to remember that like there is another show coming. So I personally kind of like, I try to make the staff laugh. I think because if they're here, they've heard everything, and if they're laughing, then I know it's worth working on. You know what I mean? So, but it's those moments of hating myself afterwards. Like, they still come, but they come for different reasons. Like if I lean on a crutch of a joke, if I know some jokes that mathematically A plus B equals laughter, and it may not be something I believe in. And those are the moments I get mad at myself now, when it's like I'm taking the easy way out instead of pushing a thought and forcing myself to go into deeper water and feel uncomfortable and all of that. But I also do have that other side of me that's like, these people paid for a show, give them a show. So there's that balance is kind of important too. So if I weigh out and evenly distribute the jokes I know that are going to work, so these people can write a good review and the club can stay open, fine. But I also need to, for my soul, dig deeper and deeper and deeper each time. So and again, I do think the microdosing's helping a lot with that. Just giving myself that look back on like, tonight was good and tomorrow will be okay too. So
no individual moment is a make or break thing. And even if you had like a bad night, it end your career, right? It's like all of the little peaks and valleys of our day-to-day existence or our moment-to-moment existence on stage don't really affect the long-term trajectory of what we're doing, right? You'd have to have just a bunch of bad nights in a row before anybody else noticed and said, maybe this guy shouldn't be having this career.
Well, that's what it is.
Our monitoring of our progress is a private thing, and most of the world doesn't notice the variations in what we're seeing every day.
Amen.
So we're
minutia to them.
Yeah, well, or it's not even noticeable. Like I don't have the experience of having a song completely flop. You know, it's like songs don't bomb the way a joke can bomb.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. And there are some jokes where it's like, how the hell does this not work? Like, it's conceptually, it's one of the most, like, the thing I'm the most happy about. And I'm like, how do they not see this?
Isn't it funny? Perception, man.
But then you want to know what it is?
Audience for not getting it?
Oh, I've yes, 100%. I've been like, I just say it. I'm like, you guys got to be out of your mind. Like, am I really the only one that doesn't? And then like someone will be, because comedy clubs are still, it's like an 80-20 blend of 80% of people got a babysitter. It was you or the movies or, you know, a concert. Like, it's what do you want to do tonight? I got this ticket, you know, Groupon in the mail thing. And then there's 20% made up of like fans and comedy diehards. And those are the people where if I go like, really, you guys don't see how this is like, and there'll be like 2 or 3 of those comedy nerds that are like, we got it, we get it. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like I totally, but again, it's that like you were just saying about, does this guy deserve his career? I do think it's that you get to a point in your tenure where you're like, yeah, my career doesn't hinge on this joke killing or not. It's actually more the offstage stuff. It's showing up on time. It's being grateful. It's
man.
giving the waitress a hug and saying thanks for being so awesome. And it's the follow-up shit. That's why like anybody who's ever like, how do you get into comedy and all that? And it's just like, just be someone they want to have there.
Exactly. I always try to make myself somebody that they're glad to see.
Yeah.
Don't leave such heavy footprints, I mean, that doesn't mean take shit, like, get paid and get what you deserve, but also don't leave a $300 unpaid drink tab and don't, like all that shit. Eat before you go. There's a million restaurants. You don't have to always take the free, like, so I don't know. I think it's all the stuff our grandparents taught us, like that's what.
You and I don't have the luxury of belonging to an organization that people arrange their lives around. O'Teal has that great. You and I, we just have to sort of be the most interesting thing happening
in a 2-block radius
tonight. Right.
Absolutely. I have to be more
humble.
Absolutely. Which is something I think the Grateful Dead probably taught us both, right, David?
Yeah, man. Because being on this side of it, but there's so much attention on you. I don't know. It's humbling to me. It's frightening, really, which is humbling.
O'Teal, tell him about the time. Do you remember the time O'Teal came to see me do a long set, David, at the Comedy Cellar? And there were these 2 girls that were just, I mean, drunk, so drunk, talking the whole time. And it was a small, intimate, Fat Black Pussycat in the West Village, right across from Blue Note. And what was there, O'Teal? Maybe 30 people, 40 people?
Yeah.
And I'm like working out a long set, and I could hear these girls like talking, and O'Teal's sitting behind them. And I go, ladies, I'm so sorry. Like, I can hear you talking. Like, if you don't want to be here, it's totally cool. But like, if you want to stay, can you please just, because I'm not going to scream at the crowd. I think that's stupid. And they go, we're not talking. And the whole crowd's like, yo, you're totally talking. Like, we could hear you talking. And then they go, you mean we can't like have a conversation with each other? And we're like, no, that's talking. And they go, that's it, we're leaving. And the girl walks across the stage with these giant heels on. And she's like, and I'm like, this girl's going to snap her ankle. She was so drunk. And like, they left, and it just takes the whole, you got to be okay with the whole room to be like, all right, are we ready to move on? And it's like, and everyone took a breath and, whatever. But yeah, it was.
You were on your side, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the audience was glad to be rid of the yakkers.
Oh, man. It's like, come on.
Yeah, O'Teal was kind of like, you handled that well. But I learned that watching the pros, man. I learned that learning from my mentors that, like, a lot of nervous comics will scream and yell and, destroy the heckler and all that other. No.
I never forget that I'm being paid to play, but nobody is being paid to listen.
Yeah.
And I have never in my life tried to make anybody else shut up and listen to me play. I figure if they're not listening, I'm not working hard enough. But I mean, with all due respect to our dear friend, the Chief, telling people to shut the fuck up from the stage was not.
I finally saw the video of someone told me about it at Sweetwater. I was like, it was awesome. He was totally right.
Yeah.
It was just the way it came out.
That club is just infamous for that, just having an incredibly noisy audience. But I've had that thing, man. I opened for the Dark Star Orchestra once at the Music Farm in Charleston, South Carolina.
Yeah, I've played there many times.
I'm on that stage. The doors open. The place filled up with people that immediately rushed down to grab their spot at the rail and blab at each other until Dark Star Orchestra hit the stage. Somewhere in between was my performance into that noisy room. And I was, it was just, I was, there was just nothing I could do. I just
Yeah.
bore down and hit it as hard as I could. And I made eye contact with as many people as I could. And I got a few people to listen. But my job was just to hold time, fill
Yeah,
time until DSO hit. And 97% of the audience didn't give a fuck that I was there. I
totally,
didn't take
man.
it personally. I just worked as hard as I could.
You
And
know what I did? Oh,
that
go
night,
ahead.
I'm just one other story from that night. It was so fucking hot in that I went to the side door to walk outside and get a little air. And you know the end of this story, don't you, Oteil? I walked outside and it was hotter and wetter outside than it was in.
It's something.
Just
I've
South
been
Carolina.
there. Yeah, and it's like when people are drunk,
Yeah.
and let's face it, they came to drink. They came to see you. Yes, they
You're
came
number
to.
3. Drunk, played, music.
Music or comedy. Yeah, absolutely.
And I mean, so, and I feel the same way, but it's more for me. Like if people aren't dancing, like I wanted people to move. So if I don't see movement, then I start getting disturbed in my spirit. I'm like, what? What am I not doing? Like, so, a place where they force people to sit down is just like, I can't deal with it. I'm like, no, that's my whole reason for living. It's for
Yeah.
people to make people move, So
Me
that's what
halfway
gets me.
between the two of you because it's not just getting people to move because I'm not playing dance music. I'm playing like
Yeah.
literate folk music, blah, 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 right? So I need people to actually hear the words like Mike does.
Yeah.
It's not just a matter of
Yeah.
getting booties to move. And it isn't just a matter of getting booties to move for you either, but you have
Yeah,
an
but
easier indicator of success than we do.
Yeah. We had it's so funny too, like with opening up for the Impractical Jokers, I open up for them in arenas. Like I've done Nassau Coliseum and the Bridgestone Arena and all these giant basketball stadiums or arenas around the country, and there's so many people. And it's such a big it's like the whole time I'm like I shouldn't be on the stage. Like it's crazy. And then
feel like
the
a fly.
but the tour announcer will go up, the lights will go down, and the tour manager will go up on stage and go, "You guys ready for the Impractical Jokers?" The place will go, "Yeah," and then he'll go, "Well, before that, we're gonna bring out Mike." And they go, "Ah!" So it's like they've been like teased, and then I come jogging out like, "How's everybody doing tonight?" And it's just such bullshit. No one cares. So I have that against me. So sometimes it's just like you gotta go like, "Hey, what the fuck, man?" Like I'm just thrilled to be here.
We used to do that when we did the Horde tour with the ARU, and so we'd be going on at like 4:30 in the afternoon. So there's nobody there.
Oh yeah, I remember those. Yeah,
but you're playing.
I was the first guy at a festival out in Michigan one time, like the first act of the first day of a 3-day weekend festival, and I played for 17 vendors, and that was about it. Literally nobody on the lawn, but I got paid.
That's it. And you did your work.
Did my job.
I tried to look at it like, okay, well, there's only 500 people here. It just feels bad because it's a place that seats 20,000.
Yeah, true.
But we had some ripping shows, though, and I think you just have to do them. You're playing for God. You're playing for the universe.
Playing for each other, too.
Everybody in that place should... I always feel like you should send everybody out of there telling their friends you should have been there. When I played in a small room, I figure I'm going to give everybody there the everything I got, so they walk out and tell their friends you should have been there.
You missed it.
Absolutely. Yep. Absolutely. So cool hanging again with you, David. Thank you so much, dude. We got to do this again real soon. And tell everyone where they could find all of your info. DavidGans.com.
My dgans.com works, although it's a really, really crappy, poorly maintained old piece of HTML code. So my stuff is available online at dgans.bandcamp.com. My online store, where I have books and music for sale, is perfectible.net. And I play live every day on Facebook at DGans Music. 4 o'clock California time, Tuesday through Sunday. Mondays, I play on the Deadhead Land channel at 3 o'clock California time.
Nice.
And then, of course, the Grateful Dead Hour is heard all over the country. GDhour.com will get you a station list where you can hear that show live on the air. And Tales from the Golden Road is Sunday afternoons from 4 to 6 p.m. East Coast time on Sirius XM's Grateful Dead Channel 23.
Busy
You're a
man.
busy man, dude.
Doing the Lord's work. Thank you,
Everything
David.
that I do for a living has gotten harder to make a living at, but I've managed to keep it together for all this time doing music-related stuff. So I am a very, very grateful boy.
Heck
And
yeah,
we're grateful for you doing it, man. Thank you, brother.
Thanks
you.
for having me. It's great talking with both of you guys. Look forward to
Absolutely.
seeing you. I have to come here. You do a live set sometime, Mike. We haven't been in the same city much in recent years.
We almost were, yeah, you and I almost figured it out that time you were in Connecticut or nearby. I wanted to try to get you up for dinner and to hang, but I was in New York doing shows. But I plan on coming to the Punchline in San Fran's, a club I do.
Great.
Used to do pseudo regularly, but now I'll let you know for sure when I'm there. But absolutely.
Shaking your hand.
Awesome.
Phil, I'm hoping I get to see at least a couple of Dead and Company shows this summer because I love what you guys are doing.
I know you don't want to get on a plane, so hopefully we're coming super close.
Well, eventually I'll get on a plane.
All right,
We'll see everyone next week. Thank you.
Bless you, brother.
Take care.